any change to the terms and conditions, any change to performance, basically any change that needs to happen to the procurement, or to the contract. So again, these contract documents can be kind of big, and so the contractor starts working on a contract modification proposal until such time it's discovered that the change is already covered by another term or condition, then they would cease work on it, or the change that's being asked is outside the scope of the contract. So if the government, if I have my contract for 3 rooms painted, and the government asks me to give them a proposal for 10, I'm pumping out the proposal while I'm working on it, the contracting officer's manager says, wait, what are you doing here? You can't more than double the work and have it be within the scope of this contract. That's going to cause GAO issues, so, take it back. The technical evaluation report is the group that looks at our proposal to make sure it's got technical merit and the fact that they still need it. And then during that, they determine technical validity, what the value of it is, whether you can substitute products or services if it's technically acceptable, and then if there's any value engineering change proposal kind of issues in there. This is the report that the technical evaluation team does, reason for the change, whether the change is within scope or out of scope, whether it's already covered, and then what's going to happen in terms of cost, delivery, and performance. This description over here. They can also go to the requiring activity to get more information, like do we really need this? What's the reaction to this request? Do you think we should grant it? So they have to make a good business decision for why this mod is happening. And they get background information and whether or not the change is already, these are all good details. If you ever have to do one, you can go back to the slides, but a lot of detail. More things, they have to perform a technical evaluation of our solution to make sure that the cost or price is adequate, that it's, what are the consequences if the change isn't made, any other alternatives they can use instead, and what the recommended solutions are. And then the technical evaluation board, working with the COR, makes this report back to the CO, and they're the ones that actually implement the change. As I mentioned, the scope issue tends to be a big deal for them. There are limits about what can be added based on the determination of what is written within the scope of the contract. So let's just talk about a crazy example. One time we had a contract with all of the Navy bases. And it said, you have a contract with all the Navy bases. The Department of Navy, so here's all the Navy bases, and here's the Department of Navy. Because Department of Navy was not mentioned as all the Navy bases, they could not buy off the contract. So they had to put an RFP together to go off and buy the same exact thing that everybody else had down here, except it had to be a separate procurement. They had to waste all that money because it was not within the scope of the original contract. So that shows you how, they really pay attention to scope. Scope changes have in-scope changes have the following characteristic. The function of items or services being procured is not changed. So if I had the room, painting 3 rooms, and the change you wanted to make is now you want me to add electrical, guess what? That's out of scope because it's totally different than painting. The basic contract purpose has not changed. So if the contract is for painting rooms and now you want me to demolish rooms, that's out of scope. The dollar magnitude of the change is proportionate to the original contract. So in the case of painting 3 rooms and now painting 20, that price is going to be way out of scope. So that's not an in-scope change. Competitive factors and specifications or statement of work changes are not extensive. So basically what they're trying to do is keep these changes very nice and neat within the scope of the contract. These are kind of questions that the government asks itself when they're trying to figure out whether it's a valid change or not. Does the change work represent what both parties reasonably contemplated at the time of award? Sometimes they will videotape or they'll audio tape the negotiations. Because if they're trying to see if there were meeting of the minds of the stuff that was required on the contract. And they'll go back to those to answer questions like this. Is the work essentially the same as agreed to in the original contract? Is the nature of the requirement altered by change? Would this type of change normally be expected for this kind of contract or requirement? Or was the specification deficient, meaning extensive redesign? So that's in the case where the government made a mistake in their spec. What kind of changes can there be? You can add work to the contract. So if this is our contract, we can add a piece to the contract, and that's perfectly acceptable. It just can't be too big. You can deduct, so you can, this part of the work is no longer being done. It's being removed from the contract. Or a substitution. We're bringing stuff in and we're taking stuff out. So that's an example of a substitution. And then you go through the negotiation process, like you did for anything else. Negotiate model. Okay. Any questions about modifications and how you change the contract? Everybody still with me? Everybody still want me to come to your house next week and try these proposals?
We have to explain it to me, Jerry. We missed it.
What did you say?
I told her she better pay attention.
She did. She's.
Missing anything over $20 a sheet.
What is that? $20 a sheet for his nice.
$20 a sheet. How do you think you get through 7 weeks?
That's only a half a sheet. I shouldn't be okay. Oh, he's got some.
There's more. There's more.
Okay. So our last topic, is the different forms of termination and then how you close out a contract. So first we'll talk about, do we need a few minute break? Can you stretch a little bit, go to the bathroom, get coffee? You want to do it? Can you do it within 3 minutes? Go!
I feel good, like I just.
Yeah, I know. But he's back, which means we have to.